how to go about it in the future. You know, personally for me, I think now it's a bit too complicated because you are having, you know, basically if you're a woman under 35 in PKR, you have 6 ballot papers, okay, and it's not, you're not voting for one person, you're voting for President, Timbalan, Naib, 4 Naibs, and about 20 committee members, and that's one ballot paper, okay, so you have 6 ballot papers, so that's how complicated it is. So I think that, you know, how do we simplify that? Maybe we just elect the top, really top positions, president or whatever. So those things need to be looked at. Because you compare to a normal election, it's not like Australia where it is just as complicated, you know, your election system. But in Malaysia, you just pangkah with so one adult, one MP. So this is a whole different thing. And even my area, you have professionals and all that, you know, scratching their heads when they want to elect. So I think that needs to be implemented. And you know, imagine the resources. How much does the election commission spend on elections? And here we have a political party spending our own resources on this. But I agree that it needs to be improved. But I think, you know, the whole idea behind it was very novel. The second issue is on the shadow cabinet. Again, I'm all for the shadow cabinet. I think that's what we need to have. The slide, you know, we've had our, I think Pakatan, you know, we've had our challenges. What do you call that? Previous parliament, previous term, what we had was what we call the committee system. So every party nominated one MP. You know, there's an education committee, so one from PKR, one from the AP, one from PAS. There's a defense committee and so on and so forth. But of course, it's not as ideal as a shadow committee system. But because in Australia it works because it's not a coalition system. Okay, I know the ruling coalition is, I mean, the ruling party is a coalition, the Liberals and the Nationals. But it's more established. But Labour is just one party, you know. But when you have 3 parties, it's a bit difficult. You know, say, I mean, to be fair, the AP would deserve more seats in the shadow cabinet because they have more seats in parliament. But then Utusan would have a field day with that, right? And you know, if the AP gets education or the AP gets what, I don't know. I mean, everything is racialized in Malaysia. That's a problem. Yeah, but because everything, you know, this is UMNO, this is UMNO, you know. So that is why, I mean, we have to deal with it very carefully and look at it at the bigger picture. But I agree that in an ideal situation, we should have a shadow committee system. And just a bit borrowing on the Hannah's question about going to the centre. I mean, it's very ironic about KJ talking about it coming from UMNO. Whatever it is, you know. One, I mean, I'm from Keadilan. It's a very multiracial party. The AP has Malay and Indian MPs as well. It's far better than many parties in Barisan, both rhetoric-wise and policy-wise. So I think it's great that he's talking that, but it's in policy-wise, I think Pakatan is far ahead.
I just want to comment about the DAP and the Malays. I really believe that the DAP is a result in the media and their perception, the perception of DAP amongst the Malay. They are really a victim of being constantly demonized in Utusan and in TV3 and the rest. So there's a lot of fear inflicted on the Malays about the DAP. We are slowly trying to change that. Nothing in the constitution of the DAP has ever prohibited Malays from joining us. Like I share with you just now how I joined politics, especially for the young people. When you want to join a political party, you look for friends. You know, people will go to party activities with you and meetings with you. So naturally, if you're a Malay, you want to join Pakatan, you will look at PAS or PKR because, you know, if you're more religious, you will join PAS. If you have more friends, you will probably join PKR. But that is slowly changing for the DAP. That's why the Teluk Intan by-election is very, very crucial, where we feel Diana Sophia in a Chinese majority seat. And we are concerned that we may be punished by the Chinese voters in Teluk Intan for giving a Chinese seat to a Malay girl. But we want to move beyond that. And that's why we are willing to put that seat out. I mean, the safe thing for the AP to do would be to field a Chinese candidate. Somebody who's well known in the area, knows the local very well, you know. But we are constantly pushing ourselves to test boundaries and to move, to lead in that sense by fielding Diana Sophia. And so even in my own branch, we are getting more and more UiTM grads joining us, young professional Malays like in Subang Jaya. We do get members joining us, and I think that's a very good sign. We may not have the numbers, but it's slowly happening, and seats are being given, like Rao Chinese area, given to Satmungko, Zairul Johari, and we have other Malay members. And on my personal stand on, what was the second question again? Islamization. My personal stand, not DAP stand. My personal stand is everyone who in Malaysia has their right to practice their religion. And if you study Islam, even if you study Christianity, there is always that element of evangelizing, sharing your faith to other people, and to get other people to see what you believe in. It's the same in Islam, it's the same in Buddhist, it's the same even in Christianity, So I believe that everybody has the right to propagate their religion, just so long as the other person's right is not being encroached. Okay? So I have no fear of Islamization taking place, but don't take away my right as a Christian to share my faith with my friends if I want to. So that's my stand. And so, just for example, we have state grant given to the people of Subang Jaya for programs. I'm a Christian. I have no fear in giving grants to the mosque and to the surahs for them to do their programs, Ramadan programs, even for them to actually share and activities that I know clearly is to propagate Islam. I don't have fear giving them that money because that's their entitlement. But the same right should be extended to the rest. So if you ask me, I don't fear Islamization taking place, but what I fear is our right to practice our religion, that is being taken away. And that's the case in Selangor. You can see the enactment that prohibits the use of the word Allah, not just Allah. There's so many words in there. I cannot even say Hajj. If I say it's wrong, Hajj is inside the list. Allah is not just the only word. There is also the word Iman. There's no other word to describe faith in BM apart from Iman. So if I want to say Nik has strong Iman under that enactment, I can't. Or Rafizi Ramli went to perform Hajj, I can't. You see? So there is always a need to review laws that are that is challenging to enforce in today's society. Yeah, so that's my view on Islamization.
Thank you very much. We only accept the last question from the floor.
Because we have to be back in our place by 6:10, and it's quite a long walk to the car.
Yeah. Right, is there any more question? Right, just one more question from one of the Twitter that I received. Just give me 1 second. Alright, given that PAS insists on the implementation of hudud, do you foresee that Pakatan will break apart? And if it's so, since DAP and PKR cherish multiracial, will DAP ever merge with PKR? Directed to both of you.
If she's the chairman, no problem. No, but what do you call it? I mean, it's an issue. I mean, we must recognize. I mean, we know that it's as the questioner just now has mentioned as well. I think it will be very difficult for us to face our constituents if, particularly the non-Malays, if we do not sort out the hudud issue very well. I mean, we recognize that, and I think we are trying to get the message out, and I think that many people in past recognize that, but they are also having their own internal debate about that. And yeah, I mean, we cannot take it for granted just because we are, what do you call that, we are in power and all that Pakatan will not break up. Things are very fluid in politics. So I think that's why we need to focus on our common things that we can agree, and things that we disagree, we agree to disagree. So yeah, I mean that is my thing. And keadilan and DAP, I think there are many similarities, but I think that the younger generation have more things in common. People of the older generation, there are some unique what do you call that, identities. People, for example, the older non-Malays who are in keadilan, for example, many of them were from Parti Rakyat or Labour Party. And if you look at the history, they did not get along well with their issues. Of course, they boycotted 1969 elections. The AP did very well. So they were, they are very hardcore in their beliefs. But in the future, people, me and Hannah's generation, who do not carry that baggage, we have, less things that make us, that less differences between us. And I do see that ultimately, it makes sense because there's not much difference. We both have multiracial demographics. Keadilan now is 50% Malay membership, 25% Indians, 15% Chinese. For whatever reason, it's easier to get Indians involved than the Chinese. And the remaining, what you call that, Sabah and Sarawak, Bumiputras. So I think, it makes sense that at the end of the day, Keadilan and DAP come together. But when, that's the big question.
I agree.
Can I quickly make a comment? Well, I just want to extend about the discussion about the hudud and implementation of hudud and Islamic State and Islamization and all those things. I just want everyone to reflect on our priorities, what we need to do. Okay, I'm actually volunteering with Amnesty International Australia, so I'm actually looking into the issue of refugees. And ironically, these refugees, who mostly come from Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, from Muslim countries, and they are Muslims, being persecuted by Muslims, and they run away to a secular country, to Australia. I'm not saying that Islam is bad or something like that, or Muslims are bad. I'm saying that, if you can't restore democracy, and in these countries, in Iran, Afghanistan, or Pakistan, they are advocating for hudud, implementation of hudud. I think that's their main agenda. Even in Nigeria, the Boko Haram group is advocating for hudud. That's the only thing they see. So Islam to them is only about implementation of hudud. But they fail to see the bigger picture of, what Islam demands Muslims to do. So that's very ironic, because I think Muslims really need to think, these Muslims running away from Muslim authorities to a secular country, Australia. And I think there are many refugees and asylum seekers in Malaysia. It's a transit before coming to Australia, and I think nobody cares about them. So I think, YB Hannah and YB Nik Nazmi can, raise or create awareness amongst Malaysians and the politicians especially, to give protection and refuge to them, because these are human beings and we can't simply ignore them.
All right, please give a round of applause to our and thank you for attending. There will be some light refreshment right behind the room. Please feel free to grab some. And thank you.
Can take a group photo.
Oh yeah. So YB Hannah has requested to take a group photo. So everyone, please come to front.